Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to our adventure in the Loire Valley. So here's today's plan. First, let's get a coffee. Right. Coffee sorted. Now, we're in the town of Amboise this morning. So I think the first thing we're going to do, well, I don't think the first thing we're going to do. First thing we're going to do is have this cup of coffee, and then right behind me, you can't see it, but it's up there above the umbrellas, is the tomb of Leonardo da Vinci. Now, hand on my heart, I did not know that when I arrived here last night. I found it out when I got to the hotel, and I thought to myself, better find somewhere for a bit of food. So I started Googling restaurants down by the river, because I thought it'd be nice. And there was a monument popped up, which was the tomb of Leonardo da Vinci. I had no idea he was buried here. So I'm going to pop up the hill after my coffee and pay my respects, have a look, I don't know. And then what we're going to do, jump back in the car and head sort of south and a bit east, I think. Because I want to look at another place that my friend used to work near and was always saying how amazing it was, and I should definitely go and have a look at if I was in the area. And now I'm in the area. So Leonardo da Vinci was born in Florence in 1452. He spent the last 3 decades of his life skirting about France. He's probably most famously known for fighting crime underneath the streets of New York City with his 3 other brothers. And he also painted a picture of a really pretty lady. Now, although it's not disputed that Leonardo da Vinci died here in 1512, it is a bit disputed as to whether those are his actual bones in the church. You see, during the French Revolution, the city was sacked, the chateau was burnt down, and the bodies that were interred in the crypt of the church were sort of scattered all over the place. And in 1863, a French archaeologist got permission from the French state to run an excavation here, where he found an enlarged skull, which he postulated was Leonardo's because of his big brain, and a bronze ring which contained letters on it that pointed to the fact that this was in fact Leonardo da Vinci. Some people think he's buried in a corner of the gardens. It's a globe. It's a globe. It could be a drinks cabinet. I can't cross the line to check. So this is the Chateau d'Amboise. Throughout its existence, it's been used as a stopover point for the kings of France as they traversed their kingdom. And it was once used as a prison for political prisoners. Probably the most notable prisoner to be interned here was Nicolas Fouquet, who was escorted here and interned for 15 years, I think, by D'Artagnan, captain of the Musketeers, and notable cartoon dog. Welcome to the Chateau de Chenonso. It's a beautiful old chateau. That's it over there. And we're going to see it in a minute. But the thing I am most interested in having a look at right now is about 20 feet that way. Let me show you. This is the Chateau de Chenonso. It was built in 1513 by a lady called Catherine Briquenet. That's it there, not that one. And then it's called a lady's castle because it was built by a lady, and then it was owned by Diane de Poitiers, and then it was owned by Catherine de Medici. Now, if those names sound familiar, that's because they lived in the chateau we visited yesterday, Chateau de Chenonso. I mean, how many chateaus does one person need? But anyway, with each person that owned it, they enriched it and enlarged it. And at the moment, now and for a while I suppose, it's famous for its two-story gallery that crosses the Cher River, which is just right there. In fairness though, I mean, it is a pretty cool building. No argument there. I kind of like that one more though. It's just my kind of style a bit more, I think. I could see myself living in that one. That one's a bit too fancy. Right, let's go and have a look. Now, I must look into it because this I don't know. It looks like they kind of stopped a bit before they meant to. So I'm not sure, I'll have to check it out, if this two-story gallery was supposed to go another few feet that way, or if they always intended to finish it there, because this bit, I think, is older than the gallery. This looks like the original bridge that would have crossed the River Cher. So I'm going to see if I can figure out what the crack is with that bit. You can kind of see there, I don't know if it shows up on camera, where the original chateau ended and the new gallery spanning the Cher starts. Just in that corner there at the little tower. Yeah, that is a chateau stove. Look at that. So this is the winch system they used to for the kitchens to bring up goods and supplies and fruit and produce, I suppose, from the boat. So the boat would come up under the bridge, and then they'd send a weighted line and haul up whatever they needed in through this window, which leads straight into the kitchen. That's clever. Quite a cool chateau that one was. Very gothic on the inside, quite dark. Kind of liked it. If I'm honest, all the fancy paintings and china plates and tapestries, they're nice to look at. I appreciate their craftsmanship that went into making them. I really like, this is going to sound sad, what I really enjoy seeing in places like that is like the little pulley system they had for raising up baskets of carrots out of a boat, stuff like that. That sort of ingenuity and inventiveness of how chateaus actually worked when they were functioning houses back in the day. That's what really interests me. I used to have a book years ago when I was a kid. It was a cross sections book, and in sort of, you know, the fold out is sort of like a castle cut in half and shows you all the different rooms and things. And I was fascinated with that. It had like at the Queen Mary, the ocean liner, it had a castle. I think it had the Great Pyramid, something else. Oh, a few bits and bobs, but I always remember the castle one, because it had a depiction of like cutaway view of the castle, depiction of all the fancy rooms and the dining hall and all that sort of stuff. And then in a little corner, I had like a guy in a cesspit with a shovel and just a label called cesspit cleaner. This is the most important job in the chateau. And it's just the sort of the behind the scenes of big chateaus like that that really kind of get me interested. I like to see how they function, and the pretty things are nice as well. Right, I think we're going to go and find somewhere a little bit quieter, because oh boy, it's busy here today. Yeah. This is the Matra Automobiles Museum. So Matra was a French automotive company formed in 1963, and they made some pretty cool Le Mans cars and all sorts of cool stuff. And then in 1969, Renault bought not a controlling stake, Renault bought a stake in the company and worked with Matra to produce some pretty cool stuff. And I think then in 1973 or 74, Renault got full control of the company. So the best way of describing it is... What's the best way of describing it? Did you ever hear of a Mercedes-Benz Barabbas? Yeah? So you got two companies. You got Mercedes-Benz and you got a company called Barabbas. It's like a tuning company. So Mercedes-Benz will make a car, and then their tuning company, their Skunk Works or whatever you want to call them, will take that car and sort of soup it up and make it faster and sportier and all around cooler, really. So Matra was kind of like that for Renault. Renault would produce a car, and Matra would then take that car and put their own twist on it, in broad terms. But they did make some really cool stuff on their own before they were bought out by Renault. And then after they were bought out by Renault, in the 80s, they started making the Renault Espace minivan. You've probably seen them, they're everywhere. I think they made like 9 models of it from kind of 1984 to 2003, I think it was. That's probably the most well-known Renault Matra collaboration. But there's been all sorts, and they're all really like individual and cool. Look at these things. Funky. That is cool. Look at that. It's like if you took Pascal and a Land Rover and merge the two of them together. How cool is that? Wow, wow, wow. That is the coolest car I've ever seen. I just had a look on Le Bon Coin, which is kind of like Auto Trader in France, or eBay in France, for one of those Matra Rancheros, the cool kind of Pascal 4x4 thing. There's 3 available for sale. And then I turned off Le Bon Coin and walked away. Romanthene. Very pretty little town. I'm glad I stopped here. I had that Matra Museum in my head for a while. And I was just sort of picking a route home from the chateau. And it was sort of nearby. So I thought, well, why not make a little detour and go and check it out. But now I am on the way home. Because tomorrow I'm working at Chateau de Chenonso. The real one. I think only for a day, I'm not too sure. I do have to sit down and have a chat with him about dates for the next few weeks, because I have some bits and bobs I need to do, and he has some bits and bobs he needs to do. So I need to sit down and agree on some dates that he needs me there, so I can plan other stuff. So I'm going to say thanks very much for coming on our adventure. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked the travel-y vlogs. I'm going to go home and have a cold shower. That's what I'm going to do. I'll turn the aircon on max when I turn the camera off, because it's really noisy. So, thank you very much for coming along and watching the vlogs. I'll see you soon.